All right, guys. Hello. This is Mr. Mascaro. Today we're going to take a look at the water bottle tutorial, which is one of the first things that we're doing with CAD this year. Um, this tutorial was originally created for a previous version of the software that we're using. It was created for Pro Engineer 3.0, but we will adjust it to work with Creo Parametric, which is our CAD software. All right. Um, just a little history, right? So Creo is basically just a next version, next generation of what used to be the Wildfire Pro Engineer series, right? Um, so basically, today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this sports drink bottle. All right. So in class we discussed things like ergonomic design and design intent and all that good stuff. So there's some pretty good reading here on this PDF if you want to go through it. All right, but what we are really interested in is how to put Creo through its paces to be able to create this bottle. Okay, so we take a look at the model that we have in front of us, and there's a couple of things that we notice. Right, number one, there's basically two parts here. Right, so one is the body of the bottle, which is in white here, and then number two, there is a cap on top. All right, so through these next couple of videos, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to create the body of the bottle, all right, with all of its features, the handle, all the rounds, that sort of thing. We're going to take a look at how to create the cap as a separate part. Um, and then as a final step, we're going to assemble the entire thing. So in other words, we're going to attach the cap to the bottle. All right, so we have one working unit. All right, so let's go over to Creo, excuse me, and let's take a look at what we need to do here. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. Right, so file new, all right, or just hit new. All right, and we get this pop-up window. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a part. So basically, for you, the student, you're going to have two different things that you're going to create. You're either going to create a part or you're going to create an assembly. All right, subtype is always going to be solid for our purposes. Okay, we don't get that deep into the program, so we're always going to deal with a solid subtype. Okay, name your model something um, descriptive, something like perhaps water bottle. Okay, and then go ahead and click OK. Default template is fine. All right, click OK. And then the first thing that we should do always is save our model. Immediately save the model. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on Save. All right, we're going to find our folder where we want to save it. If you have a Google Drive folder or something like that, that's great. All right, so go ahead and do that. All right, I'm going to save mine into my Documents folder for right now. All right, so the next thing that we do is we take a look at our screen here, right? We have a couple of planes. We have a front plane, a right plane, and a top plane. We also have a default CSYS coordinate system down here. All right, we can turn on and off our different views, all right, by taking a look at the dashboard up here. All right, so we have our schools view, or our schools tab is going to be most of our three-dimensional area visual tools. Okay, how to add parts, how to add features, how to finish those features, that sort of thing. Okay, we are interested right now in the View tab. Right, so we're going to click on that, and then wherever we see these little eyeballs, all right, we can go ahead and toggle our different views. Right, so if I want to turn on or off the CSYS display, I can click there, and you can see that the CSYS display turns off. If I ever want to toggle my planes view, I can do that. All right, so just understand that your view, your different views, you can toggle them in this View tab. There are other things that you can do in this place, right? So you can, if you ever have like a preferred orientation that you save, or if you want to look at something in a standard orientation or something like that, you can go ahead and do that. All right, we'll play with these views as we get a little bit deeper into the class. All right. So for right now, what we want to do is we want to start, take a look at our PDF. All right, and I'm going to kind of skip ahead, and I want to look at a final sketch for the setup of the bottle. All right, so the bottle itself, the body of the bottle itself is going to be created with two circles, and the two circles are going to be different sizes. One is going to be a diameter 65 circle, one is going to be a diameter 25 circle, and the centers of the two circles are going to be 65 apart. Okay, don't worry about units right now. All the units are the same. All right, I think that by default it's all in millimeters. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to refer to the values without the actual qualifier, right? So we don't worry whether it's millimeters or centimeters or inches or whatever it is. All right, they're all a standard unit. Okay. Now the other thing that we have here is that these two circles are connected by tangent lines, right? So you see these T's here. Okay, so these are called constraints. They are tangent constraints. All right, we use constraints so that as we adjust different features within our bottle, we change dimensions and that sort of thing. The connections between those features remain the same, right? So in other words, I don't know how long this line is from here to here, from this tangent point to this tangent point. I really don't care. All I care is that the circle down here, all right, the bit of circle that is left has a diameter of 25. The bit of circle that is left up here has a diameter of 65, and the two centers are 65 apart. Okay, that's really all I'm interested in. All right, so let's go take a look at how to create this this first sketch. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Schools tab. So the Schools tab has the extrusion option in it and also has the revolve option in it. We're going to take a look at the revolve in our next feature. All right, so we're going to click on extrude. Okay, and when we do that, you can see that our dashboard changes. All right, so immediately we see that in bright red or bright pink or whatever that is, all right, Creo is asking us to place the sketch. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on placement and I'm going to click on define. All right, and basically what I need to do is I need to place my sketch somewhere. I need to be able to draw my two-dimensional drawing somewhere, all right, on one of these planes, right? So I have three options here, right? I can draw on the top plane, I can draw on the front plane, I can draw on the right plane. It really doesn't matter which plane we draw on, okay? Because we can always adjust our views to, to a standard view. All right, so, but we're going to go ahead and draw on the top plane here. All right, and if you would draw on the top plane too, that would be great. That way we always line up when we add different features. Okay, so I'm going to select the top plane here, and then I'm going to go ahead and sketch. Okay, so immediately we're into sketch, into the sketch view. All right, and I know I'm in the sketch view because I see the sketch tab up here, right? And I basically have a two-dimensional view here in front of me. All right, so what Creo did was it turned our viewing area in such a way that I'm looking basically top down onto our bottle at this point. Okay, so now here are my the tools that I'm going to use inside of Sketcher. All right, to create my two-dimensional sketch. Remember that with an extrusion and with a revolve, but with an extrusion, what we're going to do is we're going to draw the sketch in 2 dimensions and then pull or extrude that sketch into the 3rd dimension, and that's going to give us our 3-dimensional rendering. I'm going to use the center and point tool, right? So the center and point tool is engineer speak for the circle tool. All right, so we're going to click on that tool, and I'm going to place my first circle at the origin, right? So if we think of this as a coordinate grid, right? Here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis. Okay, the origin is the intersection of those two planes, right? What I'm going to do is, you can see that I'm dragging around a little x. The x is the proposed center of the circle. All right, so I'm going to click. I'm going to set that x. You'll feel it kind of snap into place onto the origin. All right, to draw the circle itself, I'm going to left click and release. All right, draw the circle to some size. It doesn't matter what size it is, and then left click and release again. Okay, now I do need to draw a second circle, but what I want to do here is I want to get my sketching area into to scale. All right, so I'm going to deselect my circle tool first, dimension this circle. All right, get my area, my sketching area to scale, and then I'll go ahead and proceed with the rest of the features. All right, so to deselect the circle tool, I can either center click or I can click on up in the dashboard the 1x1 tool. Okay, so you can see that I need a circle of 65. I have a circle of 256, which is way too big, right? So what we're going to do here, we're going to double click on the dimension, change that value to 65, hit enter. All right, and now my sketching area is probably too small, so there's a couple of things that I can do. I can hit the refit button, all right, and that will expand or contract my view to get my my shape into place. I can also use the center scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Remember that you zoom in and out on where the arrow is. Okay, so we're going to adjust it to about that size. All right, and I'm going to shift this over. If I want to drag an object or drag the view, I can press and hold the Shift key, press and hold the center mouse button. All right, and then I can drag around. All right, so get the view to something that you can work with. I'm going to go back to the circle tool, the center and point tool, and I'm going to draw a circle out here on the left. Now make sure that the center of the circle is on the x-axis. Okay, we want to constrain that circle to the x-axis. We're going to be changing it later on, but we definitely want that point, that center point of the circle, to be on that reference. All right, so we're going to click and release, left click and release, and we're going to drag the circle. Make a circle that's a little bit smaller than the original circle. Okay, what you want to try to avoid is to add constraints. So you can see if I drag the circle here to the same size, I get an R constraint. We're going to talk about equal radius constraints in the next feature that we're going to build. So just make the circle a little bit smaller, and we're good there. Right. So left click and release, and then deselect the tool again. Either center click or click on the 1x1 tool. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dimension our second circle. All right, that's going to have a diameter of 25. Don't get your radii and your diameters mixed up. Okay. The center of the two circles are going to be a distance of 65 apart. If you need to get a dimension out of the way, or if it's in a bad spot, you can simply click on the dimension and drag it to wherever you want. All right, so we're going to set this dimension to 65. All right, so basically what we're doing is we're turning our weak dimensions into strong dimensions. We're defining our dimensions. A weak dimension is something that is defined from based on just our drawing it, and then a strong dimension is when we actually give it a value. All right, so no matter what I do to this circle, coming forward, it's going to maintain a diameter of 25, and this one's going to maintain a diameter of 65, and the centers of my two circles are going to be maintained at 65 as well. The next thing that I want to do is I want to draw tangent lines between the two circles. All right, so remember that a line that is tangent touches a circle at one point. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the line tool, the line chain tool. There's, obviously other ways to do this. All right, we're just using our basic tools here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line and connect these two circles. All right, it doesn't really matter where I add the line on the first circle, and it doesn't really matter where I add the line on the second circle, although we can kind of jump ahead a little bit. All right, so if I drag this line, this endpoint, all right, along the bigger circle, at some point I'm going to get a T constraint. All right, T means tangent. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and left click and set the endpoint for that line there. Now the line chain tool, what it wants to do is it wants to continue drawing a line. All right, so I obviously don't want that feature here, so I'm going to just center click, all right, to interrupt that second line. All right, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to do the same thing down below. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the line segment on the smaller circle. All right, bring the second endpoint over to the bigger circle. All right, drag it around until I get a T constraint, left click again, and then I can deselect the tool fully, right? So I'm going to center click and then I can center click again, or just select the 1x1 tool. Okay, so our sketch looks like a little bit of a mess right now. There's a couple of things that we need to do in terms of setting up our constraints. Okay, so I have tangent constraints on the big circle right now, which is good. All right, I need to add tangent constraints on the smaller circle as well. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my constraint toolbox. So this is where all my constraints are. And I'm going to click on the one that says tangent. All right, so it's the circle with the line through it. And if you mouse over any tool, all right, you will get a pop-up of what that tool does, the name of the tool, and then a brief description of the tool itself. All right, so I selected the tangent constraint tool, and the way that that works, all right, is we're going to select the line segment that we want to make tangent to a circle. Right, so I'm going to left click on that first line. You can see it highlighted in green. All right, and then I'm going to select the circles, down below it. I don't want to select the endpoints themselves. Just select the line somewhere near to, but not on the endpoint, and select the circle, near to, but not where the exact intersection is. All right, so that's going to adjust the line, and it's going to push that line over and make it tangent, right? The other thing that you'll notice is that because this line segment moved, right, it adjusted the line segment in contact with the bigger circle over here. All right, we're going to do the same thing down below. Make sure that your tangent tool is still selected. Click on the line segment near to but not on the endpoint, and then click on the circle, and that's going to push it again. All right, and now I have a good sketch. You notice how all of those other dimensions went away. All right, because of the fact that we are setting up our constraints, all right, based on tangent points. All right, so all those angles and measurements went away because they're not needed. All right, again, we don't know how long this line is. I could figure it out if I had to, but I don't really need to. All I need to know is that this line segment is tangent to the circle at this point. This line segment is tangent to the big circle at this point, and the same thing down below. All right. From this point forward, then, what we need to do is we need to get rid of the pieces of our sketch that we don't need. All right, so we need to deal with a closed sketch. So closed sketch, basically what we do is we define the borders of an interior and exterior part of our part. Right, so the borders are where we're going to add material. We want to add material inside of the sketch here. Obviously, we don't want anything out here. Okay, because we have these pieces of line here that are set up in our sketch. What happens is that Pro-E, or I keep calling it Pro-E, it's really Creo. Creo doesn't really know where it's going to add material. Where is the inside of the part and where's the outside of the part? Okay, so it could get confused there. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete those line segments or pieces of arc that we don't need. To do so, make sure that we're still on the sketch tab. We're going to click on delete segment. All right, so that's the delete segment tool. And then we're going to cut away those pieces of arc that we don't need. So we're going to click on this piece of arc here. You kind of see it highlighted in green. All right, as we mouse over it, we're going to delete that one. We're going to delete that one. We're going to delete that one. All right, and now we have a good sketch. All right, so let me deselect that tool. All right, and as soon as I deselect the tool, you see that the sketch itself changes, right? So basically, Creo has filled in this area, all right, with a tan color, beige, whatever that is, okay? And so this is kind of an indicator that we have a good closed sketch, and this is where the material is going to be added when we actually extrude this thing. All right. So at this point, we have a good sketch and we are ready to go to extrusion. So we're going to go up here where it says OK, and we're going to click on the green check mark. Okay. And then we are going to set our extrusion height. So the extrusion height, right? So if we roll our object over here and zoom out a little bit, you can see our proposed extrusion. All right. If we look up into the dashboard, we are on the extrude tab here. All right. What we want to do is we want to set that value to 160. 160. All right. And hit tab. That adjusts our extrusion height. There's a couple of different ways that we can adjust that extrusion height. We can change it up here in the dashboard. We can change it down here in the three-dimensional view. We can also click and drag that white box, all right, that drag bar, all right, to whatever height we want. Okay, I find it easier just to type in a number up here, hit the tab key. All right, we have our sketch looks good, our proposed extrusion looks good. Go ahead and click on the green checkbox, the green check mark. All right, and that's going to set our sketch. All right, so we have a good sketch here, a good first part. The beginning of our bottle is done. All right, save it. And then in the next video, we're going to take a look at how to cut the handle out of the bottle. All right, based on our view here, we're going to take a look at how to cut that handle out. All right, so we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.